Here's a quick way to develop content for any keywords that Google Ads keyword planner unfortunately doesn't return any ideas. So typically, when you are in Google Ads, you are able to basically leverage the keyword planner, which is what comes up when you click on in Tools and Settings and then Keyword Planner, and this is basically what happens. So using one of my active campaigns, I'm able to literally, ask Google questions like, searches on Amazon. Let's see if that actually comes up. It may or may not. Frankly, yeah, we do get some inventory that does show up, which is kind of interesting. They say there's, no average monthly searches for the term Amazon, which is ridiculous. However, and so this is one of the reasons why I'm actually sharing this little video with you, is that the keyword planner doesn't always help us, even though it's a great tool. But I was helping a friend recently with a particular keyword. And so what we were talking about was a specific ailment. So let me kind of show you, for example. I don't know if this will necessarily happen, but let's maybe search for the flu. So here with the flu, obviously there are many different forms of content. And so I will type in flu and then see if Google Keyword Planner, comes up. So fortunately for this term, there's 450,000 searches a month, and lots of other terms that basically come up. But let's say for some reason one of the other terms that you're looking for does not bring up any volume or searches, and so let's just dive right into it. So basically it was migraines, and so unfortunately, like I said, Google sometimes doesn't provide any detail as far as what may show up or how many times it will show up for certain terms. I don't know why exactly, and maybe at some point I'll create a guide on figuring out why that's the case, even though it really doesn't matter. So one thing that you can do, which I've shared before, is basically use Google Trends, which is an alternative form of seeing, frankly, the different topics or kind of the trends in which a certain keyword phrase may be moving up or down or sideways or whatever the case may be. We won't go into too much detail as far as what is available here, but it is a great tool. But the best way, I would say, to kind of think through and perhaps try to figure out what kind of content and what sort of signals can help you develop the right content is actually doing the actual search itself. So first off, when you actually search the term and then you start to look at the content, you can actually start to see how you can develop content. Now, there is a short phrase like migraine that people are searching for, and unfortunately it's going to be very difficult to get into this particular search engine results page, most likely, because you're competing against some of the big dogs out there who are doing a really good job and also have a lot of authority, like Mayo Clinic, for example, or WebMD, who's been around for years and years. Even Healthline will be tough to beat. But the first thing is something that I actually just showed you by searching and then clicking into the field. There are alternative phrases that are linked to this particular phrase. So how to cure a migraine, what causes migraines, migraine triggers, symptoms of a migraine, etc. So I would argue, why not just look at those and actually start to look at the different phrases. And once you do, you'll start to see different forms of content, symptoms, specialists rather. Here it says overview. And you can literally find other ways of developing, content like migraine home remedies, all right? How to get rid of it, some natural solutions, etc. Another thing to consider is, if you click onto the images of any particular search, you'll start to actually see other forms of, phrases like common treatments here. Or here, in a pin board, you see severe, caffeine, like other triggers and treatment and foods, etc. So one thing just to do is just kind of literally do what consumers do or what people do every day, and frankly start to think through how to answer a lot of these questions. One of the most popular forms of content these days are, people also ask within the search engine results. And here, there's the argument that this could be actually filled by the FAQ schema. And, without that, and we won't go into too much detail there, just look at the questions. How do you get rid of migraines fast? And if you do click on any of these, what it does is actually adds more questions. Does coffee help migraines? How long does it take for a migraine to go away? It says 4 hours in this particular answer, but what position? Should I sleep with a migraine, etc. There are a lot of questions that can come up, and a lot of ways I would argue that you can answer these questions. And if you are a particular provider or someone who can actually solve a lot of these issues, look at some of the adjacent results, and then try to figure out how perhaps, to be honest, this shows right here how bad the content is. This is actually kind of clickbaitish stuff. You can see that WebMD is doing everything they can to monetize and not necessarily help consumers. They're actually forcing you to go through all these different pages so we can bump up their traffic and bump up their numbers so that they can do things like sell more ads or, frankly, do things that are more for commercial reasons. But what we can do is we can win by providing the person who is searching how to cure a migraine more relevant content. And when you do that, I would argue you're going to have a higher chance to potentially get those, people who are looking for these phrases to read your content. And frankly, you will become more relevant because we're not sitting there just trying to make money. Obviously, there are other, angles or other things that we are trying to aim for, which, if you're a service provider, you're going to, try to get them in a path that will, eventually, find you. But let's not sell them on the front end. Let's look at it towards the end and literally help them, because as you will see, helping people, especially when it comes to their searches, will eventually help you. And so another thing just to note is that there's searches related to cure a migraine below. And those searches sometimes show up here, but just in case if they don't show up, always look to the bottom. So those are some different ways of generating content, is just literally examining those different, parts of the search engine results page and those different results. And then starting to think of, like, how would I answer this question? Because frankly, there are so many ways. But if we don't just go out and, build a set of, text, or rather, we don't go out and actually attempt to even do it, we will never know. So the best thing to do is just grab a path, grab some ideas and just start writing it up, and then learning through the process after you build that content. So hopefully that helps, at least with this particular example. And if you have any other examples or questions, feel free to let us know at Seattle Organic SEO, and we'll be happy to try to create another video just like this. Thank you very much.